Everybody, thank you very much for joining us here today with the mega zoom in, ladies and gentlemen. We absolutely love to see it. I'm Hunter Jane. This is Dexcon, and hey, got an up close and personal view for this match here up here today. Fan of Thieves versus Atlas Kasuku, and Dex should be a fun one here today, as I'm going to find a way to slowly back myself out of here. But I mean, hey, excited for some Calling Our Heroes action.
Man, I am as well. And yeah, Hunter, me and you, our cameras aren't normally this zoomed in here. So a lot of us being shown here tonight. But these two teams, I mean, round three, we're going to figure out the records for these two teams here very, very shortly. But I mean, hey, this is probably a good time for these two teams. They've already have 2 games under their belts, probably been scrimming here a little bit. So they are going to be much different teams than probably what they had in rounds 1 and rounds 2 here of Calling All Heroes Rising.
Yeah, 100%. It doesn't take too long for a team to make that initial development, so you kind of learn about each other, and maybe some of these players have a previous experience with each other. You never know, you know. It is just that kind of scene where a lot of the players are very familiar with each other, so I'm excited to see what both teams are going to be able to do. Of course, I believe this is the third round to get things going here for Rising, so again, it should be rather exciting here today as there's a couple of names I recognize between a couple of these teams, and I believe we'll probably get to the rosters here in a moment. But I'm frankly just excited to be here in the situation. Excited to, I mean, honestly, just have more Calling All Heroes. Like, hey, we'd love to see it.
Yeah, it's always a fun time, and you always see the community come out and support this very, very well. But we are being told by the booth that both these teams 2-0. So this is Swiss stage round 3. So hey, one team's gonna leave this one 3-0, and one team's gonna be handed their first loss of the season or of this round here right now. But I mean, a lot still to be left up to. Still a lot to be shown here for both these teams, though. 2-0. I mean, it's very, very difficult sometimes because sometimes you get teams that are 2-0 because they played 2 very tough games. Sometimes you get teams that are 2-0 because, well, they played one, had a forfeit in the other, but I believe these two teams have played very, very strongly in their first 2 games of the Calling All Heroes Rising circuit this time around.
Yeah, that's a really good thing when you get into these Swiss stages where normally teams will face each other around the same record. So as the season goes on, normally the matchups start becoming more consistently even due to the fact that obviously everyone's kind of gone through and really found their balance as to where they are. So obviously, gonna see if that's gonna be the case with 2 games out. But either way, Dex, figuring out the bans here today to get things started for this Rift map. I believe we have them sorted out as well. Looks like it's going to be Lucio, banned by Phantom Thieves, and Atlas Kesku going to get rid of Diva.
Yeah, it kind of tells you 2 mindsets for these 2 teams. One team really doesn't want to deal with Lucio and speed, so that's gonna be gone here early on. But I mean, you still have the direct kind of, fill in if you do not have the Lucio with that Juno there, but you don't have as much consistent speed. Maybe a little bit more healing, a little bit more damage comes out from them. But on the other side with the Diva being banned, I mean, it definitely shows they have been looking at the other team, know that they potentially like to play dive here a little bit, especially with that Diva, and they much rather want to deal with something like a Doomfist or a Winston or any of the other dive tanks here as we head into what our first map is going to be.
And of course, typically always control to be on that first map as well. So getting rid of Lucio kind of takes away the ability to have speed. And Diva can be really good in a counter dive magic, or sometimes if you want to play aggressive too, that's the option. And on a map like Ilios, I would say both of these characters have some level of viability on this map here. So the question is what the adjustments are going to be. The obvious, replacements you would think would be Jino and Winston, which both characters I think would work pretty good on this map.
Yeah, especially on a map like Lighthouse, Winston could find a lot of value there. But I mean, we talked about these 2 teams' records. We talked about the bans. How about we introduce you to the teams here, starting off with the Phantom Thieves.
100% going to take it in depth. Look at this roster. Okay, you got Random and Melancholy over on the DPS, Shuri on the tank, and then Artemis Foul and WK on the sports squad. And hey, you know what? You just love to see a 2-0 team. Love to see them rocking the house, making it happen. But, of course, having to go up against another 2-0 team, you could probably consider this the real first test for the squad this season.
Yeah, like we kind of mentioned already here, your first 2 games, in a lot of times, it seems still trying to figure out a lot about themselves and a lot about how the whole format is going to go on the teams that they're playing. So this game number 3 is going to be a good test here for both these teams. But Phantom Thieves, their opponents here tonight in Atlas Kazoko, as you have already mentioned here, CB and Leon Kawata as your DPS, Edgy Mom as your tank, Slylish and like as your support line here? I probably butchered a couple names.
Hey, you know what? Such is life in the situation. You know, got some very unique names at the end of the day. You know, it is just the nature of the position that we are in. Either way, excited to see some of these names. Familiar with a couple of these names, very obviously. So, but I'm excited to see them all get into action here pretty shortly because with the bans, with the rosters shown and the map out there, Dexter pretty close to getting this thing started and seeing who's gonna be able to pick up that initial momentum because we know how important that first map could be in setting the pace for the rest of the series, especially ones that tend to go a bit longer.
Yeah, absolutely here. But I mean, before we head into the first map here, we already have a quick little pause to make sure everyone's going to get everything ready to go here. But we could talk about this map a little bit, especially like what we expect to see from these teams here. You already talked about Winston, Lighthouse, and I believe maps like Well and hell. Winston's just really good on this map. Being able to dive around is very good on Ilios. But I still do like seeing teams come out with something brawly, something rushy. Orissa's starting to get a lot of play here recently. I like that she's back into being into the fold a little bit. I like a tank that's going to be able to sustain through a lot and cause a lot of problems, especially with Spear Spin and Javelin, just being able to eat up and cancel out so many good abilities. But I mean, on the other side, you have some tanks that you really are kind of question marks to be seeing here. Maybe something like a Wrecking Ball, a Doomfist. I'm always very intrigued when I see them come out here, especially on maps like this, because it lets you know what kind of playstyle both these teams really want to focus on.
Yeah, 100%. But getting things started over here as going to get Lighthouse to get things started right away as both tanks seem to want to pull up the Winston to get things started right now, and not a huge difference between these squads right now. I like the fact that they both went on the Ana, but WK and Lake specifically on the Kiriko and Brigitte respectively.
Yeah, and I mean, I like these two lineups. They're basically the same across from, like you already mentioned there with Lake and WK on different tanks. But you see Shuri right there swap over, and now Armas Foul. God, they love teasing us here. But Armas Foul going over to the Moira. I like this a little bit more consistent damage and a decent amount of healing. But then you look at the two hit scans here. CB on the Soj and Melancholy on the Ashe. I really like the Ashe a little bit better here because Dynamite is just something that causes a lot of problems for the other team. CB's disrupting shot is going to be able to force people away from high grounds, but it's going to be something that you really have to work out here, especially getting at that backline.
Yeah, Armas Foul going to be the first one to go down right out the gate here, but Edgymom just going to be forced to back out and getting the quick regroup of the situation, still very much up in the 5v4 situation, but Reyna gets sniped out of the air. Unfortunate situation, and with a thing like that, the rest of Phantom Thieves just got to sit back and let the point get capped by Atlas Keisuko.
Yeah, I think Shuri, I understand why they're focusing on the backline there for Atlas. It just didn't end up working out. They need to peel back to try to keep their own backline alive. But Melancholy finding out Leo right there, or Leon, is actually huge because now it allows the Phantom Thieves here to play. I mean, it allows, yeah, Phantom Thieves here to play very aggressively.
Yeah, 100%, but fight not quite over yet. You got to find a lucky shot right here. Perhaps take back over the high ground. CB, of course, trying to take it back over. Unfortunately, she's a bit of a rough situation. Getting taken out by Shuri, which should leave Phantom Thieves with a great open here to take this one away. Obviously, Edgymom trying to escape, unfortunately, will not happen. So Flip will come through 30% on the board. And CB, let's hop over to the Cassidy now.
I like this pick a little bit better than the Soj. Like I already said, I felt like the Soj was good in moments, but you really have to build up to that railgun shot, which sometimes is just not enough. I feel like going over to Cass could be a little bit more consistent damage, and the flashbang is going to be very, very vital here. But so far early on this round, we've already seen that the Fars are probably the most interesting people to really be watching here. The amount of burst damage they can put out is scary.
Yeah, unfortunately, Random, though, getting caught out rather early on into this fight right now. Not quite over yet right now, but Shuri is being chased down, sitting very close to getting that primal range intact right now. Unfortunately, she's going to get knocked down at 98%. Should settle the fight right then and there. Still going to rack up to 36%. But now, Dex, for the first time, ult's got to be on the table for this fight.
Yeah, I mean, you already see they'd use the nano in that fight right there, and it ended up working out for them. But right now, Phantom Thieves, look at what they have. They're going to have Primal, they're going to have Bob, they're going to have Barrage. They're basically going to have everything at some point in this engagement. Atlas invested the nano into that fight. It's not a bad thing. You won the fight, you won the point back. But CB making that swap there is going to put them a little bit behind here very early on. You need an early pick here if you're Atlas to kind of keep this fight alive, because you know those ultimates are coming.
Yeah, and Edgymom getting extremely aggressive, thinking about using the primal rage, but in fact, gets away with the kill on the WK. He doesn't even have to invest the primal rage in the situation. So for Phantom Thieves, they have to back out, take another reset, unfortunately, as Leon uses the ult, and Unfortunately, doesn't get much.
Yeah, I really wonder if that was a little bit of a misclick there, since we couldn't see their perspective with the rally coming out here from Armus. I mean, it's not going to be useful there for them either, so I have to imagine they pop the rally to kind of cancel out that barrage there from Leon. But right now, Phantom Thieves looking for anything and struggling at doing it.
Yeah, CB in a rough position right now, but is going to get helped out by that support line as Shuri, again, gonna have a scenario where they could use the primal rage, but unfortunately, it's more of a could and more of a absolutely have to momentarily, just to create a bit of a situation where you can create an overtime, maybe try to knock somebody off the side. Unfortunately, yep, CB is going off the edge. Only one at this point, and Shuri will eventually go down, but that's not gonna leave enough time for the rest of Phantom Thieves to be able to make a proper touch, so Keisuke gonna take it 136 to get things started.
Yeah, and I mean, Atlas was going to win that first point there, but nice job by Edgymom actually diving out to stop the Bob's track there, just so the round wouldn't progress any further than that, because sometimes you never know what would happen. I mean, they found CB out there, Phantom Thieves came back in a little bit faster, and potentially got that point flip right there. But, I mean, Phantom Thieves, they really only truly had about one good engagement there, and that was the one where it was... I believe it was Melancholy finding out Leon early on. And you kind of saw it there. Atlas kind of fell apart after that. And like I said, the Forest so far have been very vital for both teams. The amount of burst damage that they're finding. Yeah, the barrages really haven't been anything to write home about, but just the amount of pressure that the two FARs are providing so far early on in this series is great. And we do see a pharmacy coming out here for the side of Phantom Team, so they want to get a little bit more burst damage, because like I said already, the FARs are very vital to both these teams, so a little bit more damage here coming out from random might just be what the Phantom Thieves need.
Yeah, 100%. It's going to be able to make tracking down CB and the rest of the support line a lot easier right now, as already Shuri has managed to find one of their members right now, but not going to be super easy to take down CB. The situation still has very much all of that backup behind her right now, but for Phantom Thieves, pretty much going to get the cap without any sort of resistance, but resistance comes directly afterwards, so, I mean, Keisu basically just going to sacrifice 4% to eventually win the fight.
Yeah, they get 4 good percent right there. I mean, but Atlas, they, like you kind of said, they weren't really focused on the point, so they were okay with Phantom Thieves taking it, and it actually really helped out Atlas there. Phantom Thieves put themselves into a bad spot by capping the point. It allowed basically Atlas come right back in, find an early pick, and then just go on from there. And right now, you already see Silsey so close to a Nano here, and same thing with Armus, so close to a Valkyrie, but the Nano's going to be a lot more valuable here, in my opinion, for Silsey, and that dive right there is going to be doing numbers for them.
Yeah, 100% right now, and obviously fight trying to progress right now as Random and Artemis trying to find something in this situation. Fortunately, nothing quite at the ready yet, but Leon already sitting on that level 3 right now, able to pull people in with that concussive blast right now as CB is taken the better of by Melancholy in this situation right now. We see the investment. Leon ends up getting 2 in that situation, so pulling it back, and Edgymom more than happy to help bring this one back, and either with the res onto Shuri. Unfortunately, Dex doesn't look like it's going to be enough.
Yeah, that's a res that I think you kind of want back here, because Shuri, yeah, they just kind of accepted it as well. I think they just threw themselves into the well. That was a lost fight, and with Artemis taking so long there to either die or to get back to the safety of their spawn, it's going to slow Phantom Thieves down here a decent amount. Wrecking Ball not coming out here from Shuri, and you need this Wrecking Ball to be a huge difference maker for you, because right now the tank battle is going all the way of Edgymom at the moment, but that can be said for almost any role on Atlas at the moment. I mean, Leon's been great on the far. CB's done really good swapping back over to the Sojourn in this map, and this backlight for Atlas hasn't been bothered.
No, really hasn't right now. Getting Melancholy super low. WK, though, unfortunately, be taken out first and foremost right now. Rub situation for Random is getting closer and closer to that open right now, but it's Melancholy who might have to open things up for her team in this situation right now. As point gonna need to be touched here very shortly now, with Melancholy having that dead eye gonna let it loose. Unfortunately, she's not gonna find diddly squat as Phantom Thieves gonna start falling apart at these teams right now, as Atlas Keisuke will finish things up, and we'll finish out with a second round of dominance to take Ilios.
Yeah, and dominance is the best way you could put it right there. 4% is all the Phantom Thieves got, and we mentioned it, that it was basically just that. I mean, Atlas was perfectly fine with giving the Phantom Thieves the first cap there, because it left someone wide open, and they took advantage of it right away, and then carried on winning that team fight, and then never really looking back. I mean, Phantom Thieves looked a little bit better on this first point, but that's because they were always able to find that first pick every now and then a little bit better than Atlas was, but that second point, it seemed like Atlas kind of fixed what they were doing, stopped maybe playing a little bit as aggressively as they were on that first point. And again, the Pharas are vital for both teams, but you saw Atlas's Phara find so much more value. And like I mentioned there towards the very end, the support line for Atlas just, it seemed like no one was pressuring them out, while everyone or the support line on Phantom Thieves, they were under hellfire the entire time.
Yeah, that was unfortunate the situation for a majority of what we saw, and we saw the glimpses of them thieves able to make something happen. Unfortunately, it's very much Atlas being able to take this tempo, very much able to get these initial picks first, and even if that's not the case, they very much know when to simply pull it back, wait a few seconds, wait for the right opportunity, because sometimes it's not simply about making the first move, it's potentially waiting for your opponent to mess up first, which unfortunately happened a couple times in that situation. But Dex, this is a good thing about Overwatch. It's not just done in one map. Phantom Thieves will get an opportunity to be able to bounce back, try to make something happen, as we'll figure out what our map pick and the bans, of course, are going to be here pretty shortly.
Yeah, and remember, D.Va was banned out that first map by Atlas, so they cannot make that ban here again. So you have to really wonder if Phantom Thieves is a team that really likes to play the D.Va over the Winston there, and it could have made a huge difference that map if the D.Va was there. So it's going to be very interesting. Same thing, though. Phantom Thieves banned out Lucio, which with dive comps a lot, you would normally not see. So it's interesting to see them ban that out, especially if they really thought that both teams would potentially run something like what they did there. But we could also go into a map where it's not going to be focused on dive. You could bring it to something like a King's Row, but yeah, even though it's pretty much known for brawl, you could play dive. You want to bring us somewhere where you're trying to force Atlas off of the dive composition, something pokey, something rushy. Circuit Royale, if it's in the map pool right now, probably wouldn't be the worst shout, but I have started to see teams run Winston, run D.Va on that first point and the second point especially.
Yeah, I've been able to see it a little bit more as well. Haven't seen a ton of these play Circuit Royale lately. Well, I was gonna say unfortunately, but maybe in some perspective that is a little fortunate. It's a very unique map the way that it plays, where it's been poked traditionally for such a long time now. But being able to see things like the Winston D.Va being run there, it's really nice to see. So that wouldn't be a bad shout, all things considered. If you wanted to take it to a map where you could just simply brawl it out. Again, I think King's Row still falls under that category to a degree. Obviously, it's not the brawl map like it used to be years ago, but obviously there are other places you could definitely go. If you went to any kind of Flashpoint map, obviously either of those fall very heavily into that brawl category. But it's something we're going to have to see here pretty shortly, because just because things didn't go well 2-1 Ilios doesn't really mean you have to stray away from the style, because maybe that D.Va really is going to be the difference maker.
Yeah, and honestly, if I'm one of the teams here, I'm probably looking more at Phantom Thieves. You ban out the Phara this next map, no matter what the map is, ban out the Phara. It seems like, yeah, both teams really want to play the Phara, but just get rid of it. It seemed like you guys were kind of struggling a little bit with yours, but hey, I'm taking this one, Hunter.
That's a pretty good guess right there. You know what? You're 1 for 1 now. You love to see it. Circuit Royale, do love to see it, and I'm curious if that style really is going to come back out with a D.Va, or maybe these teams will stick to tradition and go back to the poke style. Obviously, Sigma very much in that regard. But either way, Dex, we know what the bans are going to be, so we're going to see whether that poke style is even viable. And to a degree, yes, but Genji and Zen being taken out. Zen makes a ton of sense for this map. Genji, though, I don't know. This could be a pick that perhaps you would want for a more viable map for this character.
I mean, I don't hate the Zen ban, especially with what you're kind of expecting to see on this map being a little bit of a poke composition, especially if you're expecting Sigma. I mean, if you hit an accretion onto someone and that Genji's right there in coordination, they're going to be able to slash in and probably right-click them to death right there in one fell swoop. So you want to make sure you don't have that kind of 1-2 combo with your team. So it's not necessarily a bad idea. And like you said, the Zenyatta makes a lot of sense. I mean, long sight lines, the orbs do a surprising amount of damage, especially if you are discorded up. I mean, Zen's a great ban here. I think this is honestly really good bans by both sides. Genji maybe a little bit more questionable, like you said, but it's all comes down to that kind of 1-2 punch, like I said, and especially right now, Genji seems to be that kind of preferred dive DPS outside of, or that Yeah, the dive DPS outside of Tracer a little bit. You still will see Tracer every now and then. And no, actually, let me rephrase that. You'll still see Tracer a lot, but you are seeing a lot of people go towards the Genji more than the Tracer, I would say, for the first time in at least half a year here. But looks like no swaps coming out for either team. Both these teams, I believe, have at least one sub, but it looks like they're going to be sticking with the same rosters for this map number 2.
Yeah, it looks like Alice Casco is going to be able to get things going on the attack as Phantom Thieves. I mean, even without the Zen in the mix, this is as poke as poke gets in the situation right here. Bring out the Alari. You got the double hit scan. Sigma hanging around with the Baptiste to be able to kind of help sustain right now as Lake, actually. Let's listen to this performance. Masterpiece. Absolutely beautiful.
Yes, I could hear it. Yes. But coming out of the gate here, Alice is showing us something at least very, very interesting. I don't think Leon's going to stick with the BAP or the Bastion here. Yeah, this is kind of what I expect to see from both sides. Melancholy sticking with the Ashe seems to be their go-to here, and I don't blame them. I still think Ashe is in a very good spot, but CB going over to the Freya, which, I mean, a lot of people have been saying for good reason is a little bit of a busted hero at the moment, but right now you're looking at both these Widowmakers for each side, because one good pick is all you really need to get your team going one way or another, and Random's going to be able to find that one pick.
Yeah, it's going to make it really hard to really play up because that means Random, well, she can't really get punished for taking whatever angle she wants to. So, creates a scenario where you can see Atlas Casco trying to push the card forward slowly, but Shuri, it just simply isn't going to get off of it anytime soon.
And look at Leon here, swapping over to the Venture instead. They're immediately getting in the backline as Atlas starts to take some space.
Yeah, pushing in really heavily, and Random ends up getting taken down of all people right here, so Mom, she's more than happy to keep pushing further and further as Melancholy and the rest of the squad gonna be forced to back out heavily right now, but struggling as she's sitting at 1. She'll eventually be taken out for that, but right now, Dex, this unfortunately might turn into a bit of a stagger if they're not careful.
Yeah, and honestly, give up a lot of this fight here and this engagement to Leon. Being able to get in that backline forced a lot of people from Fanfu just to go back and try to chase them down. Random still gonna be able to find their one, but Leon just swapping over to this Venture, getting in the backline, forced the majority of Fanfus to back up, allowing Atlas to take space and find some picks.
Yeah, exactly. And
the point.
It's just gonna push through unabated, unfortunately. So 5 minutes on the clock, definitely a ton of time right now, and it could be even worse if Shuri managed to go down here, but instead of Captive Sun going to be activated in this situation right here, Shuri still ends up going down, so unfortunately the rest of her squad, they have to back out once again and ult short.
Yeah, not necessarily how you want that one to go, especially investing that Captive Sun right there, but CB gonna be able to find Random. Lake also swapping off the Ilari, going over to the Juno here. I like this a little bit better on the attacking side because you have a little bit more consistent healing and not relying on that pylon. The defensive side of the pylon makes a lot more sense since you have a couple better spots to put it here, but CB does have this Bolo ready to go, but look at Atlas here. They're about to come up with 4 very, very strong ultimates.
100%, but it's still a tough corner to have to use the map right now. You're really hoping WK can get this online in time right now, but we see the aggression coming through right now. Mom and CB moving in immediately, but Shuri does manage to find one in this scenario, so still very much winnable. Mom, she's gonna have to back out, take a little bit of a reprieve in this situation right here. You gotta wonder if Thieves are going to want to invest the window, and they will. And unfortunately for Random, CB there to help things out. Unfortunately, no retouch, so 5.5 minutes, and unfortunately a Bob that is going to never land.
Oh, yeah, that Bob is going to be one you really want back right now if you're Melancholy, unless you're, after this life, going to be swapping over to something else, but that Bob could have been used to stall out this card here as it goes pushing through. But Atlas at the moment, I mean, they've been putting on a really good show here so far, just kind of casually moving through the map while Phantom Thieves, I mean, they haven't really been able to slow them down just yet. Other than that first pick that Random got that did slow down Atlas for a brief moment, there really hasn't been much else. And again, Leon on this Venture has been a pleasant sight to see as they are just disrupting so much.
Yeah, 100%. It's just a struggle because Phantom Thieves, that was the first fight they really gotten on that corner. It just went a really unfortunate way. As Shuri going to make that swap over to the Orisa now, simply giving up on the Sigma, but still very much has a comp built for Sigma around the Orisa. So curious how it's going to work out, especially walking into an orbital ray.
But I like this swap, and especially with how good Orisa is at the moment, you just want to be able to kind of take back some space, which has been something you have really struggled to do since you got that first pick all the way at the start of the map. But look at Atlas here. 3 ultimates coming up. Leon's still holding on to this tectonic shock, which is gonna end up doing a lot to Orisa, but Melancholy, oh, that's exactly what you need if you're Phantom Thieves.
100% we'll be able to stop things right now. Going to
That's
use
not what
the
you need to
Cactus
do.
Sun. No, not quite. I mean, Leon is going to die as a result, but ults are something that should be used very sparingly at this stage.
Yeah, I just don't think you need to use the Captive Sun right there. That fight was already over. Atlas was backing out. Leon was the only one who was staying in, but that's because they were in too deep right there. So even if they took out one person, I would have not invested that there. I mean, you look at what Atlas is coming up to here, you're going to have to deal with a lot, and that Captive Sun might have been able to forego a couple ultimates on the other side. But right now, Vi's just out here from random, and I mean, I like how Atlas is playing this, just waiting for them to go away, and they almost get the javelin spin off the map.
That's so unfortunate. Shuri, she might end up going down for that right there, but we'll be able to escape. Our orbital raid could be the dreaded finale right here for this round. Leon very much trying to make it happen. Is coming from the high ground, trying to find something with this diamond. Unfortunately, not a whole lot coming into form right now, but it's just Artemis and Melancholy trying to hang around, trying to eventually create something for the star right now. Shuri and the rest of the squad around the corner, but gets solo boloed, unfortunately. And now it's down to Shuri to make it happen. A nice spear, though. I'm going to be able to go in, going to pull both in right now. Needs to try to find at least one of the situations as Annihilation has come online. We do see WK end up helping get rid of their counterpart right here. At the end of the day, it's looking like while Atlas Kesco are hanging around, still kind of punching away right now, they just are clearing house, even if they are low, but eventually the numbers game should play effect, right? Certainly.
I mean, you need to see a hero play come out here from Melancholy, but it's just not going to be enough. If they had a Bob there, it would have been able to stall it out just a little bit longer. But like you said, the numbers game for Atlas was going to be eventually what brought them to the completion there. And I mean, a really, really good time for Atlas that round. Finished the map with 2:29. That's very good for this map. I mean, anything over, in my opinion, a minute and a half on these escort maps is very, very good time. So add about another 60 seconds and you have yourself a great time there. And the biggest thing was, and we mentioned it a little bit, the fact that Atlas was just casually going through the map. Phantom Thieves were only able to slow him down there once, truly once. They just struggled, it seemed like, especially into what Atlas was kind of running there. The hit scans, especially Leon on the Venture, I feel like that was something they didn't really expect because you just saw him finding so much value, getting in that backline, and you always saw one person peel back to go support those supports there for Phantom Thieves, leaving the tank and that other DPS who did not go back to peel, kind of sitting ducks, and that's not necessarily what you want to see, but Phantom Thieves, they now have a chance to show us something a little bit different here on the attack side. Looks like they're going to be sticking with the Orisa, at least at the moment. I think that's a good idea here, but you still have to go through a lot on the other side. CB was really starting to pick it up there towards the end on the Freya here. Leon, I would have loved to actually see the Venture on defense, but I understand the Tracer pick here. And personally, if you want to just still be a pest in the backline, Tracer might be your best pick.
Yeah, I would agree in that situation right here. I think Tracer can still have a ton of effectiveness, but this does mean at the end of the day that Random is going to very much not have a Widow to oppose her in the situation right here. So that's really going to come down to either Leon to hunt her down, or CP might have to try to do the same. Unfortunately, Random already on the case.
I love how CB was just standing there waiting for Silsey to look at them there, but just look at how edgy Mom is just getting absolutely bullied at the moment.
Yeah, it's trying to get out of the corner, but getting body blocked will eventually be able to escape, but sheesh, that's a lot of damage, unfortunately, as Random, unfortunately, she takes a little too much damage, but the trade's beginning to come through, and at the end of the day, this is really going to benefit the attackers in the situation. Spawns are a little bit closer as Atlas Kesco just backing up a little bit to the corner.
Yeah, and somehow Edgy Mom lived through that. They really should not have. They should not have lived at all, and now they're going straight back in here.
Ooh, yeah, good hinder to kind of slow down the progression there for a moment right there, but you got the back out of her using that Nemesis form and a running dry. The situation, of course, the Bolo comes in, unfortunately doesn't get a hole on that situation. Shuri, I mean, essentially just eating it like a Thanksgiving dinner, unfortunately, as still the 5v5 taking place right now, trying to build up some of these ultimates. You have a Kitsune Rush, 80% around the corner, needs to get there closer and closer right now. You can see Artemis Fowl just doing a great job of staying alive, trying to make it happen. Again, rid of Leon might make the use a little bit unnecessary as the DPS popping off, but Kitsune Rush is used almost as a safety method just to ensure this first point.
Yeah, I think if you're Atlas here, you already lost 3 of your members, and you definitely saw the Kitsune Rush come out there, so you're okay giving up this first point right here. They've invested in an ultimate, so did CB, and with Leon swapping over as well, I mean, 2 ultimates are basically gone there for Atlas here, so it's not that much lost for them. But Phantom Thieves, I mean, this is exactly what you needed. You needed a good first push. You got that right there, over 4.5 minutes, and you already are investing 1 ultimate, and Melancholy starting to pick up the slack here a little bit.
Yeah, but investing a lot in this situation right here, it could work out and getting a ton of space, but at the end of the day, eventually, Keisuko is just not going to be afraid to push here, and if Shuri's not careful, he could be sent back to the spawn a little early.
Yeah, but I mean, they have Fortify, they have a lot right there, and you do see they have their Kiriko up there as well to support them, but the Annihilation online here with Silce's Amp Matrix is definitely going to force Phantom Thieves back.
Yeah, 100% is going to. Everyone's speeding back. Unfortunately, Random still gonna get caught out. Artemis foul. Looks like she'll be able to escape the rest of her team for the time being, but WK unfortunately being taken out. And now this could be just stagger after stagger at this point, Dex.
Yeah, and that's not what you want to see if you're a fan. Everything was going your way. Maybe you played a little bit too far forward, but I don't blame them for trying to take space. But just a good play there by Alice. And honestly, it was just Silce popping off with their own Amp Matrix right there. I thought they would pair that up with Edgy Mom's Annihilation, but they didn't need to. They got rid of all the pressure there from that Widowmaker for Random. But you look at Phantom Thieves, 4 ultimates to their name. Atlas, 4 ultimates to their name as well. So it's going to be a pretty heavy ult engagement here. I feel like you're going to see a lot of teams investing, especially with Random finding Silce out early on.
Yeah, could be a bit devastating right now, and Keisuko pretty much responds immediately by popping every single ultimate under the sun right here, but it's still back and forth. WK gonna use the ultimate, everyone gonna get separated momentarily due to Edgymon still using the Annihilation, but she's gonna be burnt away, and the rest of Alice Keisuko, unfortunately, is going to join her in the spawn room.
I will always say, if you're able to survive one orbital ray, the second orbital ray will definitely end up killing the first one right there. And that's exactly what happened there. And I mean, Lake's orbital ray was a huge difference maker. I mean, my bad. WK's orbital ray was such a huge difference maker right there. Shuri now has his Terror Surge, which I would not be surprised if they play really aggressive and try to pop it somewhere where it guarantees them the second point.
Ooh, yeah, and Phantom Thieves, again, pretty much just popping, also trying to lock this point in, and while Leon does get rid of 1, fortunately, that's all it's really going to accomplish. It's now 4 minutes on the clock for Phantom Thieves here. Have a potential for a pretty decent time bank.
Yeah, they could match it here, honestly, or even get a little bit better. But every team, because they use all their ultimates here, I mean, outside of Silce and CB, yeah, everyone's kind of lagging behind here. So it's going to be a pretty dry fight at the moment. But I like that Phantom Thieves have already decided they're going to take this high ground. That's exactly what you need to do here. Force Atlas down to that low ground instead. And especially with just leaving Random on the point, we've seen they're already a Deadeye, so they are to be feared.
I mean, they 100% are in the situation right here, fighting for the high ground right now. Unfortunately, the squad is pretty much falling apart at these seams right here as the rest of Phantom Thieves going to try to escape, but it looks like might just be Random against that as WK is, just has to take the reset.
And Random might not be able to escape that well there, but you do see Shuri and Artemis get out there to keep them alive here. But right now, I mean, still 3 minutes on the clock, a lot of time for Phantom Thieves. You're not going to be able to match Atlas's time bank unless you get a team kill here and just somehow push it all the way. But getting rid of CB early on has been a huge thing, and Random, again, they've been so consistent finding these early picks. It gives Phantom Thieves the advantage they truly need here.
Yeah, 100%, but Art is just barely starting to move right now. The rest of Atlas Keisuko should be able to band together here pretty soon right now. As you see, everyone hanging around right now, also beginning to fly around the corner for Phantom Thieves, specifically those sites about to be online for Random. Likely to have them sooner rather than later, but Edgy Mom is going to get Artemis somehow in this situation right here. Unfortunately, their tank counterpart going to be taken care of shortly afterwards, as once again, Phantom Thieves just not really able to purely get out the gate.
I understand trying to take the high ground right there if you are Phantom Thieves, but at this point, unless you see a lot of members of Atlas up there early on, I don't think you necessarily go up there. Yeah, you find Silce, but you do lose Random. You're trying to find maybe one more on your way out here, but you only have 2 minutes left to go here. Granted, you are coming up to all 5 of your ultimates, but Alex can say the exact same thing. So it's going to be, again, a pretty heavy ult fight, as you already see a lot coming out.
Yeah, Shuri, unfortunately, she's going to be deleted on the spot right now. Hands of CP and Co. And now, once again, Phantom Thieves just have to really run away here. Unfortunately, again, going to get picked off a bit late there, but Phantom Thieves do literally have all 5 volts on the table now.
But Atlas still has 3, and they still have 3 very good ones here. Orbital Ray and Amp Matrix, and you're not that far away from an overclock here if you're Leon. But like you said, 5 ultimates for Phantom Thieves here. But they are just looking for an opener here, something to get them going, and that's a good opener.
Yeah, the trade's out coming through. Unfortunately, I don't know how well that trade's really going to work out in your favor, as 2 ults have already been expended, and Keisuke is just more than happy to not expend a single thing right now, because I mean, they all realize that you're at the 1 minute mark right here, and you don't have to invest a ton in the situation. They'll use this, they'll use the bat ball just to be able to kind of clear things out. As now, even with the minute left, I mean, you gotta be considering this to be close to final fight territory.
Yeah, you really do. And look at Phantom Thieves. They invested 3 ultimates in that fight. Basically, both teams have the same ultimates here. Overclock coming out here from Leon early on. They're just trying to chunk down Sherry, and I don't blame them.
I don't in the slightest either. But either way, 40 seconds on the board right now. Still going to have the orbital ray from both sides in the situation. Melancholy, though, has that upper hand, having herself the Deadeye. Got to find an opportunity here eventually, as it's going to require back-to-back fights. He's going to use it very aggressively, going to speed around the corner to try to find something. Artemis Fowl will get rid of CB right here. I say at the end of the day, everyone going to be pushed back right now. Lake is very close to going down, but will be able to stay alive, as Orbital Ray going to be invested by one side. Lake more than happy to go with WK on that one, make something happen. And Dex, for the time being, looks like Phantom Thieves are starting to roll away with this one.
Yeah, they might do it here, honestly. I think Atlas, they played that Orbital Ray a little bit wrong. They played it going towards the car, which means it was just behind it and almost momentarily. Phantom Thieves, they played it perfectly. Had it going towards the end point right there, able to do it because of it, and found all the value they really needed out of it. So a good round there for Phantom Thieves, yeah. I mean, with how much time they really had going into that 3rd point push, you would have thought they would have been able to maybe have a little bit of better time, but hey, you take what you can get, and Phantom Thieves are able to complete the map right there, so you give yourself a shot now. Atlas, though, they get an extra minute added on their time bank, so they'll have 3.5 when it's their time to shine. Phantom Thieves, though, they're going back to the attack this time around, and remember, I mean, they played a really good first point last time. They really, truly won it in about 1 engagement, because Atlas was okay taking some space, but once Phantom Thieves started to apply some pressure, they started to back up, giving Phantom Thieves that space they truly, desperately needed. And Random was a big difference maker in that first kind of point there for them. So I'm really looking at Random again here to be able to find someone early on and give Phantom Thieves that momentum they need early on in this overtime round.
Yeah, 100%, because 1 minute is not a lot to work with here, especially on a map like this, where getting around the initial corner really shouldn't be too much of an issue, but it's this first part that teams struggle to get past with even 4 minutes on the clock, much less 1. So it's about trying to be perfect, but I believe they're able to get past that first checkpoint. I think they have a very legitimate shot taking this map away. And as you see right now, in terms of adjustments from both sides, they seem pretty confident to keep what they were running previously.
Yeah, I mean, I don't blame him. Random was considering the Echo there for a moment, but I thought the Widowmaker was going to be the better choice here. But right now, I mean, like I said, you see Atlas here. They were trying to take some space, but they're backing up. They're playing safe. I don't blame them for doing that. They have such a large time bank that you can afford to play a little bit safe here, but don't play too safe. Don't give the Phantoms that much space, because Random will just do that.
Random just doing random things, and Phantom Thieves will be able to push past that first corner with ease, but now another fight needs to be activated here. Dex now get plenty of time for CB and Co to get set up for it. So Phantom Thieves, just be careful not to overplay their hand here in this situation, as Edgemom looking for the opportunity to go past with that Nemesis form. Going to get pushed into a corner and simply bullied out. So Dex, for the time being, it should be going in their direction, but unfortunately, Leon gotta find that shot under Artemis Fowl. That means you're gonna have a hard time keeping anybody up right now as everyone beginning to struggle, fall apart 1 at a time. It looks like 72 meters is gonna be the max.
Yeah, I mean, it's doable here for Phantom Thieves, but like you kind of said, Atlas played that one smart. Once they lost CB, they just backed up, gave some space, wait for CB to come back into the fight, and look what happened. They immediately just went in, found all the value they truly needed to there, and they really didn't give Random a good angle. That was the biggest thing. Random was not able to get set up and look at that high ground or really look towards the first point cap, so they just weren't able to do a lot. Sherry was trying to do their best at keeping that space there again on Edgemom, making sure they weren't pressuring that backline too much, but they started to focus on them, in my opinion, just a little bit too much, where it allowed that DPS line, that support line for Atlas to step out a little bit there from behind cover and be able to just pump in a lot of damage and a lot of healing. But now, if you're Phantom Thieves, I like this swap from Sherry going over to the Ramatra on defense. but you have to be very, very smart with it. Again, you cannot give up a lot of space because truly at this point, one team fight loss for Fan Thieves basically means this round and this map is over. Atlas, though, I like that we're seeing the Pharah come out for the first time. Haven't seen her all map long after being what I call the huge difference maker in that map 1. Now you have him here for map 3 or map 2 when no one has seen him so far. This is a really good pick because if no one's expecting it or Fan Thieves aren't ready for it, they're going to be devastated early.
Yeah, and they definitely have the countermeasures to take care of Afara and Mercy in the situation, but you say to yourself, getting caught out that early, there's nothing you can do about it if you just happen to be caught right here. No res, you might be forced to simply back out or just full commit to the point and just set up for the next one and what would be the final fight as well. So either way, Leon gonna go around the corner here, gonna try to pull somebody in. Unfortunately, doesn't happen as Leon just immediately looks like she's gonna make the swap.
And I like that. They tried, but give it up to Fan Thieves there. Like I said, if they weren't prepared for it or if they didn't look for it, they could have been devastated out there. But Melancholy noticed it right away, got rid of it, and you already see the swap there from Leon going over to the Soj instead. CB, though, still on this Widowmaker here. You really need them to find an early pick here at this point because right now you do see Phantom basically kind of pressuring up and already finding one.
Yeah, and now at this point right here, everyone getting pushed away. Fan Thieves got something working for them right now. Still 2.5 minutes on the clock, though, so plenty to work with. And now, if you're Phantom Thieves, honestly, you just have to play careful here and just commit to this corner because it's working out brilliantly so far.
Yeah, and you saw CV going back in spawn. Yeah, they're going to make the swap back over to the Freya. They've been playing excellently throughout this entire map at the moment. The Widowmaker was a very, I always say it's a hit or miss thing. Right? A nice sleep onto the Edgy Mom. But right now, if you're Fan Thieves, like I said, just control this corner. That's all you need to do.
Yeah, you see everybody just kind of blitzing into Shuri in this situation right here, trying to blow her up. Unfortunately, nothing quite happening yet in that regard. Right now, Armorspell and WK doing a great job of keeping her up, keeping the fight rolling, and make it difficult to do anything, but eventually the aggression is going to start coming through. Phantom Thieves are going to start experiencing a little bit of trouble here, and you're going to see the commitment onto the point here, realizing that no matter what, these can be difficult. Shuri's going to go in with Annihilation, going to clean up, and now, I mean, that's the turnaround right there, and wow, that was a risk.
I don't hate it. It won them that fight and will force Edgy Mom back here, and you look at the time bank here, 1.5 minutes, Nano being invested. They're going back to their map 1 ways here a little bit, where I think that's a little bit of an over-investment. You didn't need to do that. I think Edgymon was backing up, and now you honestly might lose Shuri off the back of it.
Yeah, it's becoming a bit of a rough one here, potentially, but you're going to see them invest even more. Trying to use that window to try to get everybody alive, but Slicey and the rest of the squad still doing a fantastic job, but Edgymon going to go in right here, trying to run everybody down, and things are falling apart at the seams. So much so that I don't think Phantom Thieves are going to have a secondary fight here that should just about wrap it up. You had to risk it to make it happen. Unfortunately, perhaps risk it a little too much, as Hisgu will move over to match point.
Yeah, I mean, they played it perfectly there. They got rid of Shuri early on, which I think was the biggest thing. Shuri was doing a great job on the Ramatra, that defensive round right there. But the moment they died, it was the moment that Phantom Thieves' round, I think, kind of died. They needed to have a little bit more stall, but the rest of their team had really no potential ability to truly stall. And then, honestly, it was just Atlas, Edgymon coming back in with their own annihilation. No one could peel for that. You had to try to either back up or just accept death, because there was not a lot you could truly do right there if you were the rest of Phantom Thieves in that moment, with the Ramatra basically running you down with an annihilation. It was going to be something very, very difficult to live right there.
Yeah, unfortunately it is. You saw the investment coming through as well, and most of that investment, I really don't hate. I like the fact that we saw that Annihilation come out to try to hold on that corner, and Shuri ends up making the correct decision. However, I think that Nano afterwards ends up being a bit of a crux in that situation, because you know that is eventually going to use that Annihilation and simply try to run things down, and you need that Nano to kind of have that defense mechanism, especially because, remember, Ana, one of the major perks is that she gets the Nano as well. It creates a scenario where it's so much easier to sustain. Unfortunately, it doesn't quite go their way, but I mean, Dex still get another opportunity to respond in the situation, and the bright side for them is they're going to get a couple of minutes to think about their decision. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go to a quick break, and when we are back, we'll be having ourselves a third and potentially final map of our series. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back once more here. Colonel Heroes Rising. Have yourself a matchup between the 2-0 Atlas Casco and Phantom Thieves. And deck so far, while there has certainly been quite a bit of fight back from Phantom Thieves, it has been Atlas Casco being on top of things, taking away Circuit Royale to put themselves on match point.
Yeah, and I mean, so far, Atlas, they've been playing a very sound game. They've been playing everything right. They really haven't been over-aggressing themselves too much this series. While on the other side, Phantom Thieves, we've seen them where they've either been too passive or maybe getting a little bit too aggressive, focusing in on the wrong people and putting themselves in very bad spots. But that's something that you could easily fix in between maps, in between rounds, and especially with this long break we're having here right now. Something that this team should and honestly really does need to fix here. Because like we said, Hunter, this is probably the first true test for these two teams early on in the Rising season right now. You really want to come out on you really want to come out on top on this one, be 3-0 heading into your next game on Saturday. But still, even if you don't win this one, you still want to have a good showing. Right now, Atlas showing us a lot. Phantom Thieves, I want to see a little bit more from them because there's been times. I mean, that entire round of push they had on Circuit Royale was really good all the way up until the end when Atlas really started to figure Phantom Thieves out a little bit.
Yeah, 100%. You saw a team within Phantom Thieves that was willing to take a lot of risks. And honestly, a good chunk of them really worked out. Unfortunately, it was at the very end where it kind of stopped working, unfortunately. Didn't have the ults to really sustain a annihilation. So either way, I'm excited to see how this next map is going to go down because I feel like Phantom Thieves have learned from this lesson here. And with the fact that we've gone to a map like Ilias to a map like Circuit Royale now, I think Phantom Thieves probably have a good idea as to where they want to go in the situation, to where they think is going to give them the best chance. And of course, that'll come down to their ban as well, which we'll find out about here in a short little while. But I mean, Dex, at this point, the dive didn't work too well. The poke got a little bit closer. Do you try to reinforce that one more time with the poke, or do you finally switch it up and try to activate the brawl instead?
I think what we saw towards the end of Circuit Royale, there were both teams were playing a little bit of a hybrid between dive and poke. Poke and brawl. I think you go brawl here. You want to have the upper advantage, and it really did seem like we were seeing the tank from Fan Thieves on that Ramatra be able to actually top Edgy Mom for the most part there up until they die. But like I said, if Fan Thieves lost one fight in that overtime round, they probably were not going to end up coming back into that one here. But we do know what the bans are for our third map here. We won't have that scene, unfortunately, but we do know that Phantom Thieves are going to be banning out the Freya. CB was doing a great job on the Freya last map, so not a surprise there. Atlas, though, banning out the Junker Queen, which is a very, very interesting ban and might tell us something about where we're heading here, Hunter.
Yeah, I think it gives a pretty good indication. I think Freya be taken away, it takes CB off the comfort character, and JQB taking out a character that can be very good on push style maps. Runasapi is going to be the selection this time around, and honestly, if I had a top 3 category of tanks I love to run on this map, Junker Queen is obviously in the top 3. Now, disregard the fact that she's in the top 3 for most of the maps, but in this situation right here, I still think this is where it's potentially going to come down to the Ramatra and Orisa game, because I think you can't go wrong with either of those tanks on a map like this.
No, you cannot. You absolutely cannot here. But it's going to be interesting to see. I mean, I have seen Winston actually start to get a lot more players. Same thing with Diva. But I really do believe the Ramatra is going to probably be the way to go here. Junk Queen being banned out, like I said, did give us a good idea what the map was going to be. And especially being Runasapi, I feel like that's the best push map that she actually finds the most value on and does cause the most problems. So, I mean, there's a wide variety that you can now see. But when you look at the DPS line with Freya being banned out, we're probably go back to what we were seeing a lot of map 1. Pharah will find a lot of value here, a decent amount of buildings for her to kind of hide around, especially while flying. And you're going to see the Ashe and Soldiers come back out, which has been pretty much a mainstay here through the first part of the series.
Yeah, it really has been in the situation, and it comes down to a lot of that comfortability. As we're going to get Runasapi started, a beautiful map, by the way. I don't think I said enough about a map like this right here. Definitely was a welcome addition into the push category. But either way, Dex, I would be pleasantly surprised if we are not correct. I'll be honest. It's the first time I said that I would like to not be correct here, because, well, I would like to see the same of what we've seen here. This could be a situation where, I mean, Phantom Bees might make a weird swap up here and there.
Yeah, and especially with it being this kind of late in the series where they are down 2-1, yes, I do see what the two teams are coming out with here to start off. And hey, you know, everything I talked about or potentially what we could see, yeah, just throw it out the door. Throw it out the door. Doesn't necessarily matter anymore. CB though on the Soj is something I did expect to see, but you're starting to see Atlas kind of go back to really something I did really expect them. Edgy Mom on that Ramatra, CB on the Soj, and you have that backline of Lake and Silsey who have been really, really good so far. Phantom Thieves, though, this is the most interesting one. You have the Malga here for the first time in the series. You also have Artemis on this Ana. I think it's going to make a huge difference this round, especially if they're able to land some anti-nades, because there's no cleanse on the other side this time around.
Yeah, 100%. I'm interested to see how this is going to go right now, because Malga is a very weird character nowadays. So not the overpowered mess he used to be, but still can be very effective if you're caught out in the wrong areas. Edgymom going to go in very aggressively right now. Leon, though, going to be the first one to go down. Melancholy able to help out with the help of that stun. So it's going to be really weird for the CP and the rest of the squad to really do anything. CP, unfortunately, she's going to be slowly burnt away right now. But Shuri is taken out by Lake of all people here. But all it's going to do is result in a little bit of a pullback here.
And that's been the biggest problem here for Phantom Thieves this series, is that Shuri, they want to play really aggressive, but the rest of their team just doesn't necessarily have the speed or they have the positioning to really try to follow up a lot of the aggressive plays that Shuri's making. So Shuri's constantly playing themselves into a spot where they're at the point of no return. And them losing that Malga early on is allowing Alice to come back in and find this value here.
Yeah, now Shuri, I'm going to have to run for the hills with the rest of their squad right here. It's going to be hard to kind of hang around this corner a little too long. Unfortunately, that's exactly what she's doing. But eventually, we'll back out, get plenty of Kara as Atlas Kesko going to start making the first real bout of progress.
Yeah, and this is exactly what Alice wanted to do. They wanted to start off early, and they keep on finding the value here early on, which is something that's been a mainstay, a constant for them this series. But right now, if you are Shuri, you need to be focusing in on this backline a little bit. There is an anti here on the Edgy.
Yeah, Deadeye unfortunately gets pulled a little early and not really going to find anything besides temporary reprieve. Unfortunately, that reprieve is likely to last a very short amount of time right now. Plenty of us coming up online for Atlas K-Score right now, as they're not going to be thrown onto Shuri, going to dive in deep, try to find something right now. Body's definitely going low, but Edgymon literally has decided, nah, I don't care about this fight going on here. I'm simply going to run it down. Already at 2K2 her name as well, as Shuri and the rest of the squad be forced to back up as Atlas K-Score potentially around the corner for getting that checkpoint early on.
I mean, that's been something that Edgy Mom has been a good eye on this entire series. CB, though, popping off with the overclock.
Woohoo! Yeah, definitely so. 2K already. Checkpoint unlocked in the situation, and Phantom Thief struggling a little bit here. I think you go for the combination here, and if the ult just doesn't work out, I think you gotta potentially consider the swap off the Mauga.
Yeah, I mean, I think you truly do at this point here, because you're starting to lose a lot of space. You already give Atlas the forward spawns. You're coming up to that cage, like you said. If it doesn't work, you have to truly swap. But I mean, outside of WK's orbital ray, there's really not much to combo with. But on the other side, Atlas, they have some stuff that could really make the cage difficult here. But the orbital ray coming out first, actually.
Ooh, it's definitely a scenario here right now. Is it's going to work out for the time being? With WK getting rid of their own opposition right now. But Kesco more than happy to simply die out on the point here, solidifying that everybody will be able to get those forward spawns and set up for a much quicker fight.
Yeah, and I mean, hey, Shuri, hold on to that cage right there. It's huge. They only need to invest that orbital ray, but look at Atlas. They have their own orbital ray. They have a rally. They're still holding on the blade. Atlas didn't invest anything into that fight. I think that was the right move. You wanted to have Phantom Thieves really get something out, and you are happy getting rid of that orbital ray, but Shuri getting aggressive, popping the cage.
Yeah, love to see taking the aggression right now. I want to find somebody in there, but it's the all-out aggression of Keisaku. Using both support ultimates right now. Leon struggling to get away from the situation as well. We'll be able to do so for only a moment there, unfortunately, as Phantom Thieves have a great advantage to them right now. Got rid of the only ultimate available for the side of Keisaku right now. But Dex, either way, even so, Alice doing a really good job of simply just biding their time and backing out slightly.
Yeah, I mean, that's what something they've been doing good all series long here. Atlas knows when to back out of fights, and they're doing it excellently here at the moment. But Phantom Thieves are coming up to 3 ultimates right now, and that's something that Atlas really does not have anything to match with here. Edgy Mom, if they're going to be able to build this Annihilation, might be a difference maker.
Yeah. Gonna get one with the blade, hoping to get the second right now, cutting through. Will eventually get 4. You love to see it, and now the 5th and final kill will be taken away by CB, but you love to see it if you're a Keisuko fan.
I mean, hey, I thought the Annihilation would be the thing that really maybe kept Atlas in that fight. But no, Leon just comes in, pops off with the blade, finds 4. You know, my analysis is terrible anyway. But right now, Phantom Thieves, you have 3, about to come up to 4 ultimates here. Atlas, yeah, you're going to have the overclock from CB, which did find 2 last time, but you had to go through a lot of ultimates with Phantom Thieves.
Yeah, at the minimum, we're going to get 2 with this if you are random, so having her own little moment right here as eventually, as case go, will fall apart. Phantom Thieves will be able to get the car rolling back the other side eventually, but once again, great job of them dying on the point to solidify that everybody will get the close spawns.
Yeah, and I mean, it's going to be another difficult fight here for Phantom Thieves. Atlas has done a good job of just kind of stopping all progression here so far this entire round. And I mean, it's been good. It's been really nice to see. But right now, Phantom Thieves, you need to find an early pick, whether it be with Melancholy's Deadeye or WK building up to their own orbital ray here.
Yeah, 100%. CB setting up with this as well. Unfortunately, in the wrong place at the wrong time, gets jumped by Phantom Thieves right here, but doesn't mean it's solidified. It's losing 2 members very early on as well. Going to try to see if there's any level of push. Unfortunately, not going to make that much more progress. You see the slam on the Edgy Mom, unfortunately, is only going to result in the fight being staggered out just a little bit longer. Shuri going to be the last person standing. Unfortunately, she is not long for this world. Will get deleted, and once again, Keisuko more than happy to just keep taking the 50-50 fights.
Yeah, I mean, look, 4 minutes left on the clock. Phantom Thieves still haven't got those forward spawns just yet. Atlas should probably get the forward spawns here, especially with the ultimates they have coming up, which is about to be all 5. You're looking at Shuri's cage here just to try to cancel out something on the other side, whether it be an Annihilation, whether it be the overclock or the blade. You just need that cage to really just be something that eats ultimates from the other side, not necessarily looking for a fight win, just something that gets rid of some ultimates.
Yeah, it really is. Everything being invested by both sides of the situation, and we are coming close to the term of literally everything coming to form right now. Blade still online, but just like that is being taken care of, as Keisuko believes that they want to try to shut this down right here and now and try to delete any potential hope as Shuri trying to escape for their squad. Unfortunately, Shuri potentially not going to be long for this world as WK trying the Danian just to keep her up. Unfortunately, does not happen, and we're past 100 meters and counting now.
I think if you're sure, you need to make a swap here. The Malga has had some value, but it's not finding everything you're truly looking for here. And Atlas is rounding into the home stretch at the moment. Yeah, you're going to have a Nano and a Blade coming up here soon, but that you need to basically win you a fight, but you're going to have a long uphill battle after that. I don't think the Malga here is necessarily the right choice anymore, especially with this Annihilation probably about to come out here from Edgy Mom.
Yeah, this is where you would figure you would just match things out with the Ramatra. CB having her own moment right here. 2K on the board already, and Fan Thieves could be looking at the end of the round 3 battle to get these going right now as Agimom forced to back out a little bit right here as Shuri kind of surrounded on all sides right now, trying to stay alive. Unfortunately, Artemis Fowl cannot do the same as Agimom. Annihilation Online Dex could be hoping to end this right here and now.
Yeah, I mean, they're playing smart, though. CB, though, on the off angles, has just been able to find a lot of picks. Same thing with Leon, and now you are starting to see Atlas play aggressively, knowing that they have gotten rid of that DPS line.
Yeah, very smart of Shuri to simply get out of there instead of committing the die on the point right there. Unfortunately, the supports don't even get the luxury of being able to do so, and Shuri, she's going to drop onto the point. Agimon with a 3K, going to pop the Annihilation. Blade is there. Unfortunately, Blade gets deleted, and there is no more touches coming to the rescue. Atlas K-School will finish the map and will remain undefeated in 3-0 fashion.
And they looked pretty dominant throughout this entire series. And like I said, they were the team that seemed like they understood the rules of engagement here. They knew when to go in, they knew when to back out. They understood their competitions, and they played them really, really well here. Phantom Thieves, they had their moments, but that was it, just moments. Atlas Kezuku, they really seemed like they had a plan going into every fight, and they were able to execute it very, very well here. I mean, whether it be that tank or whether it be that DPS line, especially there towards the end, you saw CB just popping off, finding a lot of early picks, allowing the rest of their team just to find that space early on to be the aggressors.
Yeah, 100%. And a lot of that really also comes on the back of Edgymom, who was just consistently aggressive with that Ramatra, never really being afraid to simply walk past the other tank and just attack that backline pretty consistently. So at the end of the day, ends up being a pretty solid job overall by the squad. Phantom Thieves go down to 2-1, but still nothing quite wrong with that. You take this as a learning experience. You still have an excellent opportunity to bounce back and have yourself a really good record in the situation. But Atlas K-School, one of the few remaining teams that are still undefeated. So curious to see who they go up with that next matchup, because realistically should be another undefeated team with it being a Swiss stage. But Dex, either way, absolutely love to see it. It might be a quick one, but I mean, seeing such amazing players go at it right here, find very little to complain about.
Yeah, no, there's really not you can complain about here. I mean, like we said, coming in this one here, one team was going to come out 3-0, one team was going to go down 2-1. I feel like Phantom Thieves, you got to take this one here, really learn a lot from here, because this Atlas Kezuku team really does seem like one of those teams that is going to be at the top for a long time here. They seem like they understand everything, like I kind of already mentioned. Phantom Thieves, on the other hand, like I said, they had some slight mistakes here and there. But like I said, mistakes are fixable. And this early on, you have your time and you have the chance to fix them.
Yeah, 100%. So I'm hoping to see both these teams have themselves a better opportunity down the line to either stay undefeated for Atlas K-School or simply a bounce back for Phantom Thieves coming Saturday. But either way, ladies and gentlemen, we still got one thing to take care of before we head out for the night. And of course, that's going to be a lovely interview. So we're going to cut to a quick break here, take a couple minutes to get everything set up. But when we come back, we'll have an interview with one of the members of the winning team, Atlas K-School. ladies and gentlemen, welcome back once more. The conclusion of our match being nice and wrapped up here. A 3-0 victory for Atlas Keisugu. And joining us as one of the winners of today, it's going to be CB joining us for an interview. First of all, CB, hey, congratulations on an excellent win here today.
Thank you, thank you. It's weird being on the other side of one of these interviews for once. I'm not gonna lie, I had a little moment just now when we were coming back from break that I was like, what if I just stole the intro? Like, what would they do if I just like yoinked it from them? But it's good. It was a good fun game. I'm glad I got to like actually show that I could play the game too.
Exactly. We would have remained powerless and simply let the cast be taken away from there. But I mean, either way, I mean, I just want to hear about your experience so far because you've played 3 games so far, you've won 3 games so far. So, what's kind of been what have things been like playing with Atlas Keisugu so far?
I mean, it's been a lot of fun. We're a team of hype moments and aura that kind of came together pretty quickly. I personally just kind of like was like, yo, anybody looking for like a plat Soj to play in Rising? And B, Edgy Mom just DM'd me and she's like, hey, you serious? Like, come on in. And like suddenly like we're playing and we're just kind of like rolling and it's going well. It's been fun. Like I didn't actually expect to, get much of anything out of this, but it's been wonderful. Getting to make new friends, get to be on the other side of things for once and actually playing pretty well together.
Yeah, I mean, hey, 3-0 now in this stage of Calling Out Heroes Rising. I mean, you guys are doing a good job here so far, but it seems like in the 3 maps that we saw here tonight, you guys are a pretty flexible team, able to go to a lot of different stuff. Because, like you said, you came into this team as a Sojourner player, but you were playing an excellent Freya. I mean, I have to imagine just the flexibility with this entire team is a big upside.
Well, I mean, for me at least, Freya is just kind of like, she's broken right now. Like she's kind of easy to play. Like I'm not even joking. Like she is better than Widowmaker on Circuit Royale. Like the top teams are playing her over Widow on Circuit Royale, which is insane. But that's the level that she's at. So like being able to play her at all is like a key bit of flexibility. But it's nice to get to go back and bust out the Sojourn. If they're gonna ban out Freya, fine. I'll use the second most busted DPS, whatever. We do also have a ton of flexibility because Chango and Ari, our other DPS, super good. Ari's Genji is like crazy good. And in terms of tank, like Edgy Mom can play pretty much anything and be probably the best player in the lobby across most of Ka Rising. So yeah, we've got a lot of different looks we can give.
Yeah. Hey, but 3-0 now. 3-0 now. Do you guys think you guys would be able to keep up this momentum? Maybe complete this Call Rising season here undefeated?
I think that would be pretty lit, especially if I get to cast Ka Rising Grand Finals. I could be the most biased caster of all time. Getting to cast my own team, winning Rising Grand Finals, I would love that so hard. But there's still some tough competition that we haven't gotten to face yet, and I look forward to getting to play against some of them. Awful looks pretty good. Lava Lily's Rising. I know Jasmine said she's gonna blow up her whole team if we manage to beat them, so we gotta beat them too. So we still got a couple more challenges at our way, but I think we got it in us.
Yeah, definitely seems to be the case there. I was gonna ask who you were potentially hoping to go up against, either teams or players, who seem to potentially answer that question for me already. So instead here, since we have a little bit of fun here, I'm just gonna throw it out there, CB. If there's anybody you want to do some very playful trash talking of, anything you want to say towards your upcoming opponents, I mean, just think about it. Think about it. It's a great opportunity.
I mean, okay, well, right. Who even are our upcoming opponents? Like I already talked about Awful. I talked about Lava Lily's Rising. Like, I don't know who we're going up against next, but if you're next on the chopping block, I suspect you minimize yourself lest you get cut down swiftly. All right, you don't want to get too big for your britches and then get your ego checked by Atlas Kesko, because we are live, we are in color, and we are the loudest team in all of Ka Rising. We're also not toxic. We do love all of you and love the Ka Rising scene. So for the sake of trash talk, watch yourself, all right? You come for the kings, you best come correct. But, it'll be fun. I just hope we all have fun.
Yeah, 100%.
I hope they have fun sign.
Oh gosh, but obviously, CB, we want to let you go and celebrate with the team. But before we finish things up here, just if there's anybody you want to thank, or just anything you want to say in general, we'll go ahead and open up the floor to you.
I mean, thanks to my team, specifically thanks to Edgy Mom for, just DMing me and getting me on this team, and also for being like the goated tank player. It's crazy how good she is, and thanks to the rest of my teammates for making this a fun atmosphere. Even though I get to kind of feel like the old grandma of the squad, being like twice everybody's age. It's nice to know I'm not washed, and it's nice to have like some friends that help keep me humble. I love it.
Yep, absolutely seems to be the case. But once more, congratulations on the win here today, CB. Pleasure talking to you, and of course, best of luck with the rest of the season. We hope to see you potentially further down the line here on the broadcast.
Yeah, I'll also go back and VOD review your guys' broadcast and judge harshly. Make sure you guys make sure you guys are tracking those initiating abilities. Make sure you're timing your throws to each other. Like if I pop OC, all right, Dex and y'all got to throw, right? Like.
Yeah, no.
We'll get a whole casting VOD review going. Let's do it.
Hey, let's go.
I have an excuse for my third map performance.
Oh yeah, something about someone throwing up. Was I hearing?
Yeah, my cat.
Oh, okay, that's a pretty good excuse. All right, poor baby. Give your cat all the love.
She'll get it here.
Oh god, I love Zay already. But either way, again, CB, appreciate it so much. Pleasure speaking to you, and best of luck with the rest of the season.
Thank you, Atlas Quetzalcoatl fighting.
Fighto! Oh, right.
Well, Hunter, I mean, hey, it was a really good series, honestly. Alice Kazuku did show up and show out here tonight. Everyone on that team is really someone that we could talk about here. I mean, that first map, they did such a good job with that backline, just not making sure that they were being pressured out at all there. They were always doing a really good job making sure that backline was the safest people in that entire lobby a lot. And like CB said there, Edgy Mom was incredible in all the tanks that we saw her play throughout the series here tonight. And that is something you desperately need here in this Calling All Rising series, a tank that is flexible and someone that will be able to flex onto a different tank and be able to keep that same level of consistent play.
Yeah, that tank role has become so important when we got into Overwatch. I think more so as time has really gone by, where tanks, at a time, were essentially raid bosses, and to some degree, they definitely still are. Let's not lie about that. But either way, it's important to have that level of flexibility, especially with the way the meta kind of is, where there isn't just one tank that is like the solid tank. You have to know this roster. You need to be able to flex around and simply make things happen when it needs to happen. So, Dex, I'm hoping we get to see more of the squad down the road, because for everything we deserve from CB, this team clearly, has a lot of momentum on their side, has a lot of that flexibility. So, hey, we're potentially looking at a team we might see there at the very end.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to it, especially if the trash talking does work out there for them against those teams that CB talked about. I would love to see that team disband if they do beat them.
Yes, that's what we do here at Calling All Heroes Rising. In sight, trash talking, ladies and gentlemen. But either way, with that being said, that's going to do it here for tonight. So I want to thank all of y'all for coming out here today and obviously supporting the Rising scene once more. We appreciate y'all greatly for it. But for us here, thank y'all very much. We hope y'all have a fantastic night. We hope to see you this coming Saturday for some more Calling All Heroes Rising.